The rain hammered my windshield like bullets as I sat in my battered Ford pickup, staring at the house I'd called home for 12 years. The yellow glow from our kitchen window should have been welcoming, but tonight it felt like a spotlight on everything wrong with my life. My name's Jake Morrison, and at 38, I'd somehow become the guy everyone underestimated, including my own wife. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I'm a home inspector now, though I used to be an engineer before the layoffs hit. It's honest work, crawling through basements and attics, finding the rot people try to hide. Turns out I'd gotten pretty good at finding rot everywhere. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Check the security cam at 11:23 p.m. tonight. Trust me. I stared at the text, rain drumming overhead. Who the hell knew about our security system? I'd installed it myself last year after the break-ins on Maple Street. Sam had rolled her eyes at my paranoia, but she'd gotten used to the cameras pretty quick. Sam, my wife of 15 years, Samantha Morrison, Esquire, high-powered attorney at Blackstone and Associates, the kind of woman who wore power suits like armor and treated our marriage like a hostile takeover she'd already won. Lately, she'd been working later, coming home with that distant look, always checking her phone. I glanced at the dashboard clock. 11:15 p.m. The smart thing would be to go inside, kiss my wife goodnight, and pretend everything was fine. But I'd been pretending for months now, watching her slip away one late meeting at a time. Instead, I pulled out my laptop and logged into our home security system. The kitchen camera had a perfect view of the main entrance and part of the living room. At exactly 11:23 p.m., I watched my wife unlock the front door. She wasn't alone. The man behind her was tall, broad-shouldered, wearing an expensive suit that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage payment. I recognized him immediately. Ethan Blackstone, her boss. The Golden Boy CEO who'd inherited Daddy's law firm and thought the world owed him everything. I watched them kiss in my kitchen. Not a friendly peck, but the kind of kiss that made my stomach turn inside out. Then they headed upstairs toward my bedroom. Son of a bitch, I whispered, closing the laptop. I started the truck and drove through the rain to Joey's gym on the south side of town. Joey Castellano had been my best friend since high school, an ex-cop who'd opened a boxing gym after taking early retirement. The place was his sanctuary, and tonight I needed sanctuary too. The gym was closed, but I had a key. I found Joey in his office, going over receipts with a bottle of beer and a calculator. "Jake, what are you doing here this late?" "My wife's screwing her boss." The words came out flat, matter of fact. Joey looked up, his weathered face creasing with concern. "You sure about that?" I told him about the text, the security footage, everything. Joey listened without interruption, occasionally shaking his head. "Anonymous tip, huh? Someone wanted you to see that. Question is, who?" "Does it matter?" I saw what I saw. "Course it matters. This smells like setup, Jake. Someone's playing games." Maybe Joey was right, but the image of Sam and Ethan in my kitchen was burned into my brain. I needed to hit something, so I wrapped my hands and went to work on the heavy bag. Each punch was a release, a small explosion of the rage building inside me. "What are you going to do?" Joey asked when I finally stopped. "I don't know yet, but I'm done being the guy everyone walks on." My phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. "Your wife's using company funds for hotel stays. Check room 414, Wheeler Inn, tomorrow at 9 p.m. I showed Joey the message. He frowned, his cop instincts kicking in. "Someone's feeding you information, professional-grade intel. This isn't some random do-gooder, Jake. Someone wants Ethan and Sam to go down, and they're using you to do it." "Fine by me," I said, unwrapping my hands. "If someone wants to help me destroy them, I'm listening." The Wheeler Inn was the kind of upscale hotel where Sam's crowd held their power lunches and closed-door deals. I parked across the street at 8:45 p.m., rain still coming down in sheets. At exactly 9, Sam's BMW pulled into the valet lane. She stepped out wearing a black dress I'd never seen before, followed by Ethan in his usual overpriced suit. They walked into the lobby like they owned the place. I waited 10 minutes, then followed. The lobby was all marble and gold, the kind of place that made you feel underdressed even in your best clothes. I approached the front desk, pulling out my home inspector credentials. "Evening. I'm here to check room 414 for water damage. The management company called it in." The desk clerk, a kid who couldn't have been more than 22, barely glanced at my ID. "Oh, that room's occupied tonight, sir." "Perfect. That's actually better. I can check the adjoining rooms for leak sources." He handed me a keycard for 412, amateur hour. Room 412 was a mirror image of 414, separated by a thin wall. I pressed a glass against the drywall and listened. The sounds coming through made me want to put my fist through the wall instead. I'd heard enough. I took photos of the hotel registry on my phone, documented the room numbers, and left. But as I walked through the lobby, I spotted something interesting. Ava Chen, Sam's best friend and head of HR at Blackstone and Associates, sitting in the bar with a clear view of the elevators. Ava was watching, waiting. She looked nervous, checking her phone every few seconds. When Sam and Ethan emerged from the elevator an hour later, Ava made a note in a small leather journal. This was getting interesting. Over the next week, I became a shadow. I followed Sam to lunch meetings that turned into afternoon hotel visits. I tracked Ethan's movements from his downtown gym to his luxury condo to various restaurants where he met my wife. I documented everything: times, places, credit card receipts I lifted from trash cans. Joey helped, using his old police contacts to run background checks and dig into public records. What we found was a pattern of abuse going back years. Ethan had a history of mentoring young female attorneys, several of whom had left the firm abruptly. There were sealed settlements, NDAs, and a paper trail of hush money. "This guy's a predator," Joey said, spreading the files across his desk. "And your wife isn't his first victim." "Victim?" I laughed bitterly. "Sam's not a victim, Joey. She's a willing participant." "Maybe. Or maybe she's in over her head and doesn't know how to get out." I wanted to believe that. Part of me still loved the woman I'd married, the ambitious young lawyer who'd seen something in a blue-collar engineer from the wrong side of town. But that woman had been gone for years, replaced by someone cold and calculating who treated our marriage like a business merger that hadn't worked out. My phone buzzed. Another anonymous message. "Check Ava Chen's office computer. Password is Blackstone 2019. You'll find interesting files about your wife and Ethan." "This is getting weird," Joey said, reading over my shoulder. "Your anonymous friend has access to company passwords. This is an inside job." He was right, but I was past caring about the source. If someone wanted to help me burn down Sam and Ethan's little affair, I'd take all the help I could get. That night, I used the building maintenance access I'd gained during a legitimate inspection 6 months earlier. Blackstone and Associates occupied the top 3 floors of the Riverside Tower, all glass and steel overlooking the river. Ava's office was on the 15th floor, corner office with a view. Her computer was still logged in. Sloppy security for an HR director. The files were explosive. Ava had been documenting everything: Sam and Ethan's hotel visits, company credit card abuse, conflicts of interest, ethics violations. But she wasn't building a case to stop them. She was building leverage. Email after email showed Ava manipulating both Sam and Ethan, playing them against each other while positioning herself for a promotion. She'd been feeding them information about board meetings, helping them cover their tracks, all while collecting evidence for her own purposes. And then I found the file labeled Morrison Revenge. My blood ran cold as I read Ava's detailed notes about my marriage, my financial situation, even my boxing hobby at Joey's gym. She knew about the anonymous texts because she'd been sending them. She'd orchestrated this entire thing, using me as her weapon against Sam and Ethan. But why? The answer was in the final email, sent to herself as a reminder. Jake Morrison cost me my job at Henderson Engineering 3 years ago. His safety report got me fired and blacklisted. Time to return the favor. I remembered now. Ava Chen, the ambitious project manager who'd been cutting corners on safety inspections to meet deadlines. My report had exposed her negligence and nearly caused a lawsuit. She'd been fired, and I'd forgotten about her until she'd somehow landed the HR job at Sam's firm. She'd been planning this for years. I should have been angry about being manipulated, but instead I felt something like admiration. Ava had played a long game, positioning herself perfectly to destroy everyone who'd wronged her. The only problem was she'd underestimated me. If Ava wanted to use me as her weapon, I'd let her, but I'd be aiming at targets she hadn't considered. I copied all of Ava's files onto a flash drive and left her office exactly as I'd found it. Then I called Joey. "Oh, we need to talk. Bring your camera." The next evening was the Blackstone and Associates annual charity gala, held at the Riverside Country Club. Sam had been planning her outfit for weeks, treating it like the social event of the season. She looked stunning in a silver dress that probably cost more than my truck, her arm linked with mine as we walked into the ballroom. "Try to mingle, Jake," she whispered. "These people are important." "Don't worry, honey. I plan to make quite an impression." The room was full of the city's legal and business elite, the kind of people who made decisions over cocktails and handshake deals. Ethan was holding court near the bar, surrounded by admirers and sycophants. Ava worked the room like a professional politician, her smile never wavering. I waited until the speeches began, when everyone was focused on the stage. Then I approached the microphone during the transition between speakers. "Excuse me, folks, I'd like to say a few words about mentorship and professional development." Sam's face went white. Ethan started moving toward the stage, but Joey appeared from nowhere to block his path. "My wife works for Blackstone and Associates," I continued, "and I've been amazed by the mentoring program they have there, especially the one-on-one sessions that Mr. Blackstone provides for promising young attorneys." Nervous laughter rippled through the crowd. Sam was frantically shaking her head, but I was just getting started. In fact, the mentoring is so intensive that it requires overnight sessions at the Wheeler Inn, very hands-on approach to professional development. The laughter died. Ethan was pushing past Joey, his face red with anger, but I had one more card to play. Of course, the real mastermind behind this mentoring program is Ava Chen, head of HR. She's been documenting every session, every expense, every intimate detail, for quality assurance, I'm sure. Ava's smile finally cracked. She looked like a deer caught in headlights. "Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the leadership team at Blackstone and Associates. They'll mentor you right out of your marriage, your ethics, and your self-respect." Security was moving toward the stage now, but I was done. I stepped down from the microphone and walked calmly toward the exit. The ballroom erupted in whispers and shocked conversations. Sam caught up with me in the parking lot, her face twisted with rage. "How dare you humiliate me like that, in front of everyone?" "Humiliate you?" "Sam, you've been humiliating yourself for months. I just gave it a spotlight." "You don't understand." "I understand perfectly. You're screwing your boss, using company money to do it, and your best friend has been blackmailing both of you. Did I miss anything?" Sam's mouth opened and closed like a fish. For the first time in years, she had nothing to say. "Here's what's going to happen," I continued. "You're going to pack your things and move out of my house. You're going to file for divorce and accept whatever settlement I'm willing to give you, and you're going to pray that I don't decide to send those photos and documents to the State Bar Association." "You can't prove anything." I held up the flash drive. Ava was very thorough. Bank records, hotel receipts, email chains, even photos. She documented everything, Sam. Everything. Sam stared at the drive like it was a loaded gun. "What do you want?" "Justice, and maybe a little revenge." The next few weeks were a masterclass in controlled demolition. I fed information to the right people at the right times, watching Sam and Ethan's world crumble piece by piece. The State Bar Association received an anonymous tip about ethical violations. The Blackstone and Associates Board got copies of expense reports showing company funds used for personal purposes. Local reporters received photos of Sam and Ethan entering hotel rooms together. But the real fireworks started when I revealed Ava's role to Sam and Ethan. I arranged to meet them at Murphy's Tavern, a dive bar on the wrong side of town where none of their country club friends would see them. Sam arrived first, looking haggard and desperate. Ethan showed up 10 minutes later, his usual arrogance replaced by paranoid anxiety. "You wanted to talk," Sam said. "Talk." "I want to discuss your friend Ava. Did you know she's been playing you both from the beginning?" I slid copies of Ava's files across the table. Sam and Ethan read in stunned silence, their faces growing paler with each page. "She's been blackmailing us," Ethan whispered. "The promotion, the board position she's been angling for, she's been using our affair as leverage." "Gets better," I said. "She's also been feeding information to your competitors, selling client lists, and skimming money from the charity fund. Your affair was just the cover story." Sam looked up from the papers, her lawyer instincts finally kicking in. "Where did you get these?" "From Ava's own computer. She documented everything, including her plan to frame you both for embezzlement while she disappeared with about $2 million in client funds." That was a lie, but they didn't know that. I watched the panic spread across their faces as they realized how completely they'd been manipulated. "We have to stop her," Ethan said. "We?" I laughed. "There is no we. You two created this mess when you decided to screw around behind my back. Ava just took advantage of your stupidity." Sam reached across the table, her eyes desperate. "Jake, please. We can work together on this. Ava's the real enemy here." "No, Sam, you're the real enemy. You betrayed our marriage, violated your professional ethics, and destroyed 15 years of trust. Ava's just an opportunist. You're a traitor." I stood up, leaving them with the files. "But don't worry. I'm going to take care of Ava too. Consider it a public service." That night, Ethan tried to confront me at Joey's gym. He burst through the door like he owned the place, his face flushed with anger and desperation. "Morrison, we need to talk." I was working the heavy bag, but I stopped when I saw him. The gym was empty except for Joey, who was cleaning equipment in the back. "What's the matter, Ethan? Your world falling apart?" "You don't know what you're dealing with. Ava's dangerous. She's got connections, people who'll do anything for money." "Sounds like you're scared." "Damn right I'm scared. She's been threatening me, demanding money, promising to destroy my reputation if I don't cooperate." I unwrapped my hands slowly, studying Ethan's face. For all his arrogance and entitlement, he was genuinely terrified. "So what do you want from me?" "Help me stop her. We can work together, pool our resources. The same way you and Sam worked together to destroy my marriage?" Ethan's face flushed red. "Your marriage was already over, Morrison. Sam told me." My fist caught him in the solar plexus before he could finish the sentence. He doubled over, gasping for air. "Here's some free advice, Ethan. Stay away from me, stay away from my wife, and pray that I don't decide you need another lesson in respect." Joey appeared from the back room, drawn by the commotion. Ethan straightened up, trying to recover his dignity. "This isn't over, Morrison." "Yes, it is. You just don't know it yet." After Ethan left, Joey shook his head. "You're playing with fire, Jake. These people have money, connections, lawyers. So do I. And I have something they don't. What's that? Nothing left to lose." The final confrontation came 3 weeks later at the Riverside County Courthouse. Sam had filed for divorce, so probably hoping to control the narrative and minimize her losses. She'd hired the best divorce attorney in the city, a shark named Patricia Wells, who specialized in protecting wealthy clients from their own mistakes. I walked into the courthouse wearing my best suit, the one I'd worn to our wedding 15 years ago. It still fit, though it felt like armor now instead of celebration clothes. Sam was already there with her lawyer, looking confident and composed. She'd recovered from the initial shock and was back in fighting mode. Ethan sat in the back row, trying to look supportive while staying out of the spotlight. But the real surprise was Ava, sitting in the front row like she was attending a show. She caught my eye and smiled, a cold expression that made my skin crawl. "Mr. Morrison," Patricia Wells began, "my client is prepared to offer a generous settlement in exchange for your discretion regarding certain personal matters." "How generous?" $50,000 and shared custody of any future assets. I laughed out loud. "You're kidding, right?" Sam leaned forward. "Jake, be reasonable. We both made mistakes." "No, Sam. You made mistakes. I made discoveries." I pulled out a manila envelope and slid it across the table. Sam opened it with trembling fingers, her face going white as she read the contents. Inside was a deed transferring our house into my name exclusively, dated 6 months earlier and notarized by Joey's ex-wife, who happened to be a licensed notary public. There was also a resignation letter from Blackstone and Associates, citing personal reasons, and a confession detailing Sam's affair and the misuse of company funds. "What is this?" Patricia Wells demanded. "Preparation," I said calmly. "See, while you were all playing your little games, I was playing mine. That deed is legal and binding, signed by Sam during one of her more distracted moments. The resignation letter is in her handwriting, taken from a draft I found on her computer. And the confession is her own words, recorded during one of her late-night phone calls with Ethan." Sam stared at the papers like they might burst into flames. "You can't do this. It's fraud. Forgery." "Actually, it's all perfectly legal. I had a very good lawyer review everything." I nodded toward the back of the room, where Joey's cousin Tony, a criminal defense attorney, gave a small wave. "The house is mine, Sam. The bank accounts are frozen pending investigation of the company fund misuse. And your career is over." Patricia Wells was frantically flipping through the papers, looking for loopholes. "This is extortion." "No, this is justice. Sam made her choice when she decided to betray our marriage. I'm just making sure she lives with the consequences." That's when Ava made her move. "Your Honor," she said, standing up in the gallery, "I have information relevant to this case." The judge, who'd been watching this circus with growing irritation, nodded for her to continue. "Mr. Morrison has been stalking my client, breaking into offices, stealing confidential documents. I have evidence—" "Shut up, Ava." Everyone turned to stare at me. I was still sitting calmly, but my voice carried the weight of absolute authority. "You want to talk about evidence? Let's talk about evidence." I pulled out a second envelope, this one much thicker than the first. This contains copies of every email Ava Chen has sent for the past 6 months. Emails detailing her blackmail scheme, her embezzlement of client funds, and her plan to frame Sam and Ethan for crimes she committed. Ava's face went pale. "That's impossible." "It's also got photos of you meeting with Tony Marcelli at the Riverside Diner. You know Tony, right? The guy who runs numbers for the Castellano family? Funny thing about Tony, he keeps detailed records of everyone who owes him money. The courtroom was silent. Even the judge was leaning forward, fascinated despite himself. Turns out Ava's got a gambling problem. Lost about $200,000 at the casino last year. Borrowed money from some very unfriendly people to cover her debts. She's been stealing from Blackstone and Associates to pay them back, using Sam and Ethan's affair as a smokescreen. I stood up, straightening my tie. But here's the really interesting part. Ava didn't just stumble onto Sam and Ethan's affair. She orchestrated it. Sam gasped. Ethan half rose from his seat. See, Ava needed a distraction, something big enough to keep everyone's attention off the missing money. So she started playing matchmaker, arranging late meetings, creating opportunities, even booking hotel rooms. She turned my wife into an adulteress and her boss into an accomplice, all so she could rob them blind. I walked over to where Ava was sitting, her face now completely drained of color. The anonymous tips? That was Ava, trying to use me as her weapon. She figured if I exposed the affair, it would create enough chaos for her to disappear with the money. She just didn't count on me being smart enough to figure out the real game. Ava tried to run. She made it 3 steps before 2 men in suits blocked her path. Federal agents, courtesy of Joey's contacts at the FBI. Ava Chen, you're under arrest for embezzlement, wire fraud, and racketeering. As they handcuffed her, Ava turned back to me with pure hatred in her eyes. This isn't over, Morrison. Yes, it is. The courtroom erupted in chaos. Reporters who'd been covering the divorce suddenly had a much bigger story. Sam sat in stunned silence, finally understanding how completely she'd been manipulated. Ethan was already on his phone, probably calling his own lawyer. Judge Harrison banged his gavel for order. Mr. Morrison, Mrs. Morrison, given the circumstances, I'm going to postpone these proceedings pending the outcome of the federal investigation. That won't be necessary, Your Honor, I said. My wife and I have reached an understanding. I turned to Sam, who was staring at me like she'd never seen me before. Here's the deal, Sam. You sign over your rights to the house, accept full responsibility for the company fund misuse, and agree to a no-contest divorce. In exchange, I don't press charges for the forged signatures on the bank account transfers. What forged signatures? I smiled. The ones Ava forged using samples from your office files. She's been moving money around for months, and some of those transfers have your signature on them. Of course, a handwriting expert might be able to prove you didn't sign them, but that could take years and cost hundreds of thousands in legal fees. Sam looked at her lawyer, who nodded grimly. They both knew I had them cornered. Fine, Sam whispered. I'll sign. 20 minutes later, it was over. Sam signed the papers with shaking hands, officially ending our marriage and transferring all assets to me. Ethan had already fled, probably to start damage control at his company. The federal agents had taken Ava away in handcuffs. I walked out of the courthouse into the afternoon sunshine, feeling lighter than I had in years. Joey was waiting by his car, grinning like he'd just won the lottery. How's it feel to be a free man? Pretty damn good, I said. Pretty damn good. As we drove away, I caught a glimpse of Sam in the rearview mirror, standing alone on the courthouse steps. She looked small and lost, nothing like the powerful attorney who'd controlled every aspect of our marriage. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Then I remembered the security footage of her kissing Ethan in our kitchen, and the feeling passed. Some people get what they deserve. Others get what they choose. Sam had made her choice.